For any Rough Rider fan, you don't have to have a conversation that extends beyond numbers if you don't have to. If you say 1966, 1989, 2007 to a Rough Rider fan, they know exactly what you mean. It's like saying 1967 to a Leafs fan.
Referee Al Driver of Winnipeg signals the timer's bench, and the 1966 Grey Cup game is underway. A bench kicks off for Saskatchewan.
We were the classic underdog going into that Grey Cup against Ottawa, and so I think we were, we were comfortable being the underdog. We were comfortable representing Saskatchewan, and I would say we were quietly confident that we were going to perform well on that day.
He spots Ford in the end zone. The pass through Obilovich's hands to Ford. Touchdown!
Memories of 1966 were of the cameras and the champagne in Ottawa's locker room. I can vividly remember all 4 touchdowns in the game, and I don't think I could say that for any Grey Cup that we lost.
Handoff Reed. No stopping him. Touchdown!
Memories from that game is that no one gave us a chance to win. They had the media set up on Ottawa's side. They had all the drinks on Ottawa's side and everything else. It was just a foregone conclusion that Ottawa had won. It was going to win the football game and send us back home empty-handed.
The Western Rough Riders win the 1966 Grey Cup game with a startling 29-14 victory over Ottawa.
I was 9 years old and partied right across the street at the Armories. You know, when I was a kid, they went there and the team showed up a couple hours late, and they handed out little loaves of bread with the 66 Grey Cup on there. So as a kid, that was pretty cool going there and getting a piece of history.
That's something, if I could put myself in one place in history, it would be on the Armories on November 27th, 1966, just to see what that was like, because there's talk that there were 6,000 or 7,000 people in that little room, and what does it hold, maybe 2?
The final in Edmonton was really a defining moment for that team. 16-2 Edmonton Eskimo team that, was, for most people, were favored to win by 30, 35 points. And we went into Edmonton, won that game, and we really believed at that time that we couldn't be stopped.
My still number one play of that whole game was our defense when Eddie Lowe hit Tracy Ham and Dave Albright picked up the ball and rumbled in from about 65 yards for a touchdown. To me, that was the play right there.
Picked up by the Riders. Bye-bye. Albright, touchdown.
The way we got to Grey Cup, going through the 2 of our Western opponents to get there, finishing 3rd and going on to the Grey Cup. It made it pretty special by the time we got to Grey Cup that once again we sort of weren't favored to be there, but I think when we got there and half this province went to the game, I think we felt like we were playing a home game.
That was quite the week, because at that time nobody in our organization had been to Grey Cup except for Al Ford, and that was as a player. So all of us were brand new to it. So it was a huge learning curve in a very short period of time. Exhausting. I spent all week, I think, running around from hotel to hotel, making sure all the players' wives, their families, the players, our executive were looked after, making sure everyone had tickets to everything.
It was the night before the game, and things were pretty wound up, and all the hay is in the barn, as they say, and we were talking, I don't know what we were talking about, probably nothing, but talking about something, and all of a sudden he rolls over and looks at me and he goes, "We can't go home without it." And I think that was a pretty bold statement. He said, "We can't go home without the Grey Cup." And okay, I said, "Okay, we'll try it. We'll take it home with us."
Good idea.
That might be a good idea.
It's for Gull Lake in particular, isn't it? Everybody in Gull Lake, they're a great bunch of guys and have a great time, and we're bringing her on home, baby. Okay.
Of all the great Grey Cups there have been, that one just stands alone. That was the best football game you'll ever see.
I believe it was in the second quarter when Jeff Fairholm caught a long pass, and that kind of turned the tide.
And just overall spectacle. The second quarter of that game when there were touchdowns on 5 consecutive possessions. Just so many plays that people all these years later, almost a quarter century after the fact, still remember vividly.
It will be a 34-yard, 35-yard attempt.
Dave Ridgway, in my opinion, is the best clutch kicker in the game's history. There's been guys that have more points, and there's been guys that have, had maybe even longer streaks. But when it came to the game-winning kick, I'd take Dave over anybody.
The Riders Grey Cup moment was that Dave Ridgway field goal in 1989, so that would probably be the highest of the highs.
To this day, and I don't know how many years, I can't even do the math as to how many years ago that was, I still can't find the words to best describe the feeling once the clock read 0-0.
Ken Austin coming back after guiding the Riders to the Grey Cup victory as a head coach, as the quarterback in 2007, and leaving under tumultuous circumstances after the 1993 season, and at one point being reviled, suddenly comes back, becomes a head coach, and becomes a beloved, heroic, iconic figure in this province during one magical season, and then rides off into the sunset.
Here's the blitz. Dinwiddie loading up downfield for Stiegel. It's intercepted. James Johnson.
I'm surprised that James Johnson isn't more of a Grey Cup hero, considering what he did. There were receivers on the Riders that day who didn't catch as many passes as James Johnson did. The 3 picks, people remember the one at the end that cinched the outcome for the Rough Riders, but he also returned an interception for Saskatchewan's first touchdown. And you would think that James Johnson should be able to just live off the accolades that he receives from 2007. He should be a beloved figure forever in the Rider Nation, but not long after that he was traded to, ironically, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and he kind of quietly disappeared from Canadian football. And it's too bad, because so many of the Riders Grey Cup heroes are celebrated. Well, nobody had a better game in the 2007 Grey Cup than James Johnson. I think the story of the Rough Rider season was already pretty much well in place. There were just the Kerry Joseph quarterback draw for a touchdown on Labor Day, the lights going out against Edmonton and playing in the rain and winning that game. There were some signature moments from that team and from that season, and people and personalities on that team that just made it such a joy to cover and to be around. That's what resonates with me about 2007. It's not the game itself, it's how they got there. I guess the word is domination. The headline in the Leader Post the day after the game was "Domination in Rider Nation," and that's pretty much what it was. When you look at how dominant they were and how dominant this team is in terms of the market, in terms of the mentality of the province and the fan base, domination is, I think, a good term for it.
You couldn't have written a better script if you're a Hollywood producer for it to happen the way that it did here in 2013.
As in like a Tom Hanks?
Tom Hanks, Martin Short, whoever, it's something that I think it was a global thing, because people from all over the world, because the Rider Nation is all over the world, and it's something that you not only bust out your chest, but it's like, gosh, I wish I was back there.
In one of the most unusual Grey Cup plays.
I don't think this province could have held everyone that wished they could have been here to be part of this celebration.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders are Grey Cup champions.
I think this will be the one that people talk about, because not only did they win a Grey Cup, they won it at home. And not only did they win it at home, they won it in the last Grey Cup game to be played on Taylor Field. So when you factor all those elements into it, I think that's going to be the one. Plus, you look at 1966, the first one. That's nearly 50 years ago now, so the number of people who can remember being a part of that game is diminishing.
this is going to be the game that people are going to be talking about, because it wasn't just a game, it was a happening. And then the Rough Riders won big. What more do you want from a Grey Cup game?